Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Ricardo, how are your parents doing?
My dad's doing well, Professor. Mom's still in the hospital. I didn't.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you for asking, though.
No problem. How's everyone else doing? Everybody healthy? Feeling good? Surviving? Don't all speak at one time.
I'm doing good. Professor, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Feeling better. Little by little.
Good.
Give a few more minutes while we still got more people.
Hello.
Hello. Hey,
Hi.
Josh, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. How's the grading going?
It's going great. Getting through it.
Oh, good.
I'm caught up to this week. I wanted to ask you, what is the best way to take the attendance in the lecture?
We'll talk about that after the lecture.
Sounds good.
So, we got almost the entire class here. That's good. 94 people, 96. All right, so is it 3:31? Give it another minute or two. So any questions, concerns before we get started? How's everybody doing? Question about any of the assignments? I know we had a few people that just enrolled within the last few days. So we'll give you a little bit of time to get all that stuff done. Those of you who haven't turned in the first couple of assignments, get them turned in. Some points are better than no points.
Professor, I have a question.
Sure, what do you got, Carlos?
Avi, I do go by Avi as a preferred name, please.
Avi. Okay.
Yes. And I was wondering when we could expect information about the midterm paper.
5 minutes before it's due.
All right, perfect.
I've already dropped enough hints. I'll drop some more today. Pretty much it's going to be the value chain. I'm going to pick a company. You're going to write about the value chain. It's a take home, so you can look things up, do whatever you need to do. So don't stress about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. All right. Let's get started. We got 106 out, I think, out of 109, so that'll work. All right. All right, so we're in week 3. You guys ready for this? So today, or this week's agenda: attendance, Walmart mini case answers, chapter 4, we'll do the cost advantage, Tata Motors. Going to talk about economies of scale and scope, learning curve, different business models and value chains, along with what's due and what's new, a little question and answers, and then right after class, I'll have office hours. So if you need to talk to me, I will be available. and I can be available as long as I need. So, but don't wait too long. All right. So many of you asked about Zoom class attendance. No, I will not drop your grade for missing class. Obviously, many of you are going to be sick, have things to do that are, emergencies. And for the most part, everybody's been coming to class, which is good. No, you do not have to put your camera on every time, all the time. I do like to see your smiling faces, and makes me feel like I'm not just talking into my computer alone. Yes, I will take, well, the TA will take attendance every class. Yes, the discussion sessions are a large part of your participation points. So those are freebies, guys. Just do them. They're the discussion. Go in there. It'd take you all of 10 minutes to answer, to post a question and to respond to somebody else's question. Next week, you're going to respond to 3 people and the point's worth 15. Yes, I do like seeing people in Zoom. So keep it up. Yes, class is recorded and the PowerPoint presentations will be posted right after each class. All right, so I'll give you a link to YouTube, and then I will turn them into a PDF file, then post my PowerPoint slides. Questions about that? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? No? Okay. Walmart mini case. You guys turned that in last week. Last week. So what was the great thing about Walmart? Protecting price advantage, focus people to ensure operational efficiency, all those other good things that you learned about. A number of factors why Walmart is successful. Number one reason, low prices, right? Everybody loves Walmart because the prices are low. And even if the prices are not low, they make you think they're low, right? So markets, distribution, even Amazon is envy of the distribution system Walmart has. Vendor pricing, they're able to put enough pressure on vendors to get the pricing lower and lower and lower. And factors from the entire value chain. The value chain, which is going to be something to do with your midterm or the whole thing on your midterm. All right. So perceived low prices. Walmart began with a goal to provide customers with the goods they wanted, whenever, wherever they wanted them. The company then focused on developing cost structures that allowed it to offer everyday low pricing. Okay. So one of the things Walmart likes to do is go into a geographical area with 50,000 people or so, in a kind of a rural area. I don't know if you guys traveled on the freeways very much in America, but you go in the middle of nowhere, there's this huge super Walmart. That's the only thing around. So their location versus population is one of the things that is very successful for them. So the rent's cheap and they can actually have higher prices because they're the only game in town, right? They got there. Target's not going to be able to support have enough support with a population of 50,000 if most of them are already going to Walmart. Okay, so other things, there's supplier relationship, information technology, HR management, marketing and merchandising, and store costs. Okay, so the cost of goods sold, all business majors know what COGS is. Pressures on suppliers and distribution network, locating stores in 50K lower labor costs, which is another thing too. If you're in a rural area, you don't need to be making $15 an hour, which is going to be the new minimum wage shortly. You can make $7 an hour and still live comfortably. So those are some of the other things that Walmart's been able to do. Not saying paying somebody $7 an hour is right, but for certain work, I guess it's okay. So over 2,000 stores in the rural America, lower rent in small markets, first mover advantage, geographic areas. All right, so any questions about Walmart? So we're done with Walmart. It's gone. It's history now. Questions, concerns? No? Okay. All right, so your book talks about Tata Motors, how the engineer saw a family of, what was it, 10 or 20 on a motorcycle, and how it would be much safer if he could put some doors around them and a bumper and some windows. So what he did is he took the sales and the marketing model of the scooters and applied it to a small, inexpensive car, and was able to go out into rural areas and not only just sell the people the car, but also they could give them the driver's license. They can teach them how to drive the car, and also insurance and everything they needed for the whole family and the owner of the car to be able to operate the equipment. Okay, but Tata is not just the low price leader in cars. They also make everything from buses, SUVs, and sedans. So that's just one marketing aspect of what they did. Cost advantage strategy. There's two different ones. There's cost advantage and differentiation advantage, and we're going to be talking about cost advantage today. All right, so two strategies. A firm reduced its prices below all of its competitors, thereby allowing it to gain market share. So undercutting everybody else allows you to grab a larger market share. If a firm chooses the same price as competitors, which result in greater profits rather than a higher market share. So you're trading profits for market share. So if you're trying to dominate a market, you would probably go with what? The lower price. If you're trying to make money, maximize profit, you would go along with the same price as what your competitors are going along with. So, and we talked, no, we will talk about that. Pricing strategies and different types of game strategies. General Motors for many years in the 80s and 90s, their cost was so low that they could actually undercut everybody in the industry, in the car making industry, and undersell them by thousands of dollars, which they could have monopolized basically the car market, but they chose to sell their cars as the same price as competitors or just about the same, and then gain, not so much gain the whole entire market share, but make profits. A lot of good that did them because they went bankrupt a few years ago. All right, so sources of cost advantage: economies of scale, learning and experience effects, lower cost due to proprietary knowledge, lower input cost, different business model. Okay, so we're going to talk about all of those, if you guys can stay awake that long, and then we'll do a little exercise. All right, so economies of scale: a reduction in cost per unit due to increase in efficiency of production as the number of goods being produced increases. So, for example, General Motors was making so many cars that they spread the cost of what it costs to make a car over so many different cars that they made it so cheap that they could have sold a car for a few $1,000s and still made a profit. You know, the same car that would cost somebody $20,000, they could sell it for $10,000, almost half. So economies of scale arise from four principal sources: ability to spread fixed costs of production, which General Motors was able to do; ability to spread non-production costs, which General Motors was also able to do; and specialization of equipment and specialization of people. So General Motors was actually able to do all four of those things. That's why they were so successful in getting the economies of scale so low. All right. So buys in bulk, who does that? Walmart? Good answer. R&D budget of $7 billion. Who has a research and development budget of $7? Throw some names out there.
Any pharmaceutical company?
Close, but no. What do we got in the chat box? Apple? Well, actually, yes. I believe it is Apple now. Who is it? It is Intel. Or didn't Intel and Apple do a joint deal? Or no, Apple stopped using Intel is what it was, right? I remember reading something about it. Okay, $58 billion in operating cash flows. That means they have $58 billion just sitting in the bank doing absolutely nothing. Who do you think's that? Who do you think did that? Apple, no. Yes, Apple uses their own chips now. So 58 billions in dollars. What kind of industry has money like that? Oil, very good. ExxonMobil. All right, so economies of scale, scale curve, minimum effect scale, diseconomies of scale, and economies of scope. These are all in your books or definitions. General Motors was able to accomplish all of these, and that's why they did so well. Unfortunately, in the 2000s, 20 and the 2010s, they didn't do so great. The average total cost of production decreases as a result of increasing the number of different goods produced. So General Motors had Cadillac, Corvette, Chrysler, or not Chrysler, Chevy, and Pontiac, several others. So they had all these different types, or all these different cars that they were manufacturing, not only but other companies that they all owned under an umbrella, and so they made the economy of scope very, very large. All right. And for your economic majors, there's a curve for you. I took an economics class in my graduate school. One problem was 3 pages long. It was ridiculous. And it was advanced calculus. I'm not a math guy. But all right, so learning and experience effects. Okay, so the cost advantage strategy, a strategy in which the unique value offered to customers is lower price products or services. The learning curve, the concept that labor cost per unit decreases with increase in volume due to learning. So the more you learn, the better you get at it. The more skilled you become at it, the learning curve is greater and the cost goes down. Which is like the experience curve, a representation of the relationship between cumulative volume and product cost. Okay, so the experience curve, here you go. As you notice, it can only go so far. You can only have so much experience and apply that. The law of experience variable and average, cost per unit decline by a constant percentage, typically 10 to 30% each time cumulative output doubles. Okay, so know that the experience curve, you can only become so experienced before it flatlines. Okay, so some of the reasons why the experience curve works: decreased variable cost per unit due to learning. So human learning and efficiency, the more you learn, the more efficient you become at assembling things. If you're doing manufacturing, if you're doing service type things, the better you become, the more you do it. Decreasing fixed cost per unit due to scale, economies of scale, increase ability to spread fixed costs. This mostly applies to manufacturing. And limitations, what are some of the limits? Once you get so good at something, you can't get any better at it. You can only do something as quickly as you're physically capable. Spillovers, know that term. Aging equipment can impede continuing learning and cost advantage. The airlines, for example, are an example of that. Once an airplane becomes so old, you can't actually, do as much with it. It's going to be more costly. Firms with scales have an advantage in economic upturns, but may be a disadvantage during downturns. So a lot of these companies that you see now going out of business are companies that had problems before, especially a lot of these retail companies. So this is not something new, but this was actually a catalyst that pushed them over the edge. And you're going to see a lot more companies close before we're all over. Okay. So they have problems spreading fixed costs when demand declines. For example, Macy's is shutting down several stores. Williams-Sonoma went out of business. A lot of these other, Pier 1 went out of business. So a lot of these companies, they kept closing their stores, and then they don't have the fixed cost to spread over the stores. Firms with heavy fixed assets can respond to this concern by shifting more of their cost structure from fixed cost to variable costs, outsourcing like Nike does. So manufacturing process, they can outsource it and diversify their businesses, which a lot of them are doing now. They're going into different tech industries or finance. You'll see a lot of companies are doing a lot of different financing options All right. So any questions about economies of scale or learning, I'm sorry, learning and experience effects? Lower costs due to proprietary knowledge is another over cost savings. Proprietary knowledge information that is not public and that is viewed as the property of the company. All right, so the 11 herbs of spices that make up Kentucky Fried Chicken. Everybody from Kansas to China knows about Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? And maybe not so much in India, but in China and the rest of the world. So there are the 11 secret herbs and spices. I got them for you. There you go. Write them down. So that is considered proprietary knowledge. We have some questions. Yes. Yes, Japan is very accustomed to KFC. That is like a really big deal over there. All right. I had a friend who actually moved over there from San Diego State and became a district manager or whatever for KFC and worked in Japan. He's like a 6'4" white guy with red hair. Can't miss him. All right. So proprietary knowledge, Toyota. Product systems is a example of how they use proprietary knowledge to create a competitive advantage. Use a pull system to avoid overproduction, just-in-time delivery, which a lot of companies are doing in all different types of industry. In my industry, we can deliver next day. So a lot of companies are not buying their office equipment supplies in bulk. They'll just buy one or two pieces, even though they have to pay a shipping cost. It's still cheaper for them. And plus, now that they're all spread out everywhere, it's not always ideal to have toner in one location because you have a lot of people working from home. So I'm shipping to people's homes. I'm shipping equipment, supplies, and all kinds of different things to individuals' homes now. So I digress. So using visual controls and whatnot. So Toyota, not only do they have proprietary knowledge, but they also invest in the companies that they're doing business with and their vendors. Okay, so the cost reduction in US parts. So implementing 6 to 10 practices that Toyota does in an auto manufacturing company can reduce their cost by 3%. If they can get 11 to 20 different practices that Toyota does, they can do it by 5%, 11%, and 20% as the practices that they kind of emulate what Toyota does goes up. So a company earning billions of dollars, 11% savings is cost reduction is quite a bit, right? All right. So Coca-Cola, proprietary knowledge. What is the secret ingredient for Coca-Cola? That's right, cocaine, the Coca-Cola leaf, the cocoa leaf. So that's why you're addicted to Coca-Cola is because they use the cocaine. They don't use that anymore, but they used to use it. They use kind of a derivative of that now. All right, so lower input costs, resources such as people, raw materials, energy information, or financing that are put into a system to attain a desired result output. There are 4 primary ways that companies achieve cost advantage through lower output inputs, exercising strong bargaining power over suppliers, cooperating especially well with suppliers, getting inputs from low-cost locations, arranging better access to inputs than other companies. So Walmart is a prime example of exercising strong bargaining power. Honda works very, very with cooperating each well with suppliers. So does Toyota, many of the Japanese firms. Nike getting inputs from low-cost locations, and then arranging better access to inputs than other companies. That would be De Beers, how they arrange better access to only them using and getting to the diamonds.
How do they do that?
How do they do that? They own all the mines.
That makes sense.
So he who owns all the golds makes golden rule. So De Beers, the reason they're able to control the how amount of diamonds on the market is because they pretty much own all the diamond mines. So they only mine what they need and then produce what they need, and they keep it in high demand, and they can keep the prices up higher. Diamonds are not rare; they're just kept rare and expensive. Uh, okay. Questions? Tie engagements to diamonds. Yeah. It's kind of like the Valentine's holiday too. All right. All right. So lower input costs, bargaining power over suppliers, purchasing volume, purchasing and negotiation tactics, cooperation with suppliers, preferred access to inputs, oil drilling locations, for example, and location advantages, wage rates. For example, Mopar parts, some of the other automotive parts are made in Mexico where the wage rates are very, very low. Exchange rates. You can make money just exchanging the Canadian dollar for the US dollar. So when you make money in Canada or make money in the United States, go to Canada, you can even make money off the exchange rates. And a lot of countries and companies do that with different countries. They just move money around. Like Nike has, $2 billion sitting offshore, and they just move it around from country to country. And whoever has the highest exchange rate, they make a 1, 2, 3% profit off that. Okay, raw materials and energy costs. And then finally, we got different business models. Okay, so the business model, the plan and set of activities implemented by a company to offer unique value and generate revenue and make a profit from operations. The value chain, which again is going to be your midterm, the sequence of all activities that are performed by a firm to return raw materials and to the finished products that is sold to a buyer. Okay, so configure the value chain. Eliminate activities, step in the value chain. These are different business models. Eliminate retail stores, which Netflix and Amazon did, and we'll talk about the last great Netflix or Amazon, Blockbuster, which is in Bend, Oregon. Okay, so sources of cost advantage, economies of scale. We talked about Walmart, and Walmart doesn't do just one of these. Walmart does many of these, and that's why they are very, very successful, along with Toyota, Nike, and all of these companies. These are examples, but Nike and all of these companies that are very, very successful, that have a competitive advantage, do more than just one of these sources of cost advantage. All right, so everybody's familiar with Uber and Lyft, right? Yes, okay. So these are a revolutionary model when it came to getting a ride. So they've been around for a decade or so. The New York taxi cab. This is a what do they call it? I forget what they call it. They call it a medallion. Okay, so in order to do business in New York City, you have to have one of these medallions on your taxi cab. Okay, these medallions for the longest time were the standard of how to do business and where you're going to do business, and especially in New York City. And it's a way for the city to tax these taxi cab drivers. Okay, so a medallion costs anywhere between $160,000 and $250,000. You notice these are only good for 2 years. So every 2 years, they have to redo the medallion, I believe it was. So when Uber and Lyft came along, what happened with Uber and Lyft? There's no medallions. They didn't have to pay the city of New York any taxes, nothing. They just go and pick you up, take you down to the street and drive, and boom. You guys are talking about Lyft or Uber better. Okay, so no questions. So what happened was a different business. Uber and Lyft came in with a different business model and almost put these guys out of business. So much so that the taxi cab drivers got together and asked the city of New York to not let Uber and Lyft in. Okay, so we had a big fight, and then obviously a taxi medallion doesn't cost that much money anymore. You just can't do that and compete with Uber and Lyft. All right, questions about that? Chapter 4. Anyone? Anyone? All right, we're going to move on. You guys ready? Southwest mini cage has already been posted. All right. So Southwest, without a heart, it's just a machine. There's some good propaganda for you, right? What are the 5 sources of cost advantage of Southwest? Explain how Southwest Airline uses these cost advantages to acquire a competitive advantage. All right, so those are just 2 of the things that we talked about in Southwest. Scales of economy, learning the experience effect. So all of these Southwest does, and all of these is why Southwest is successful. Okay, and then the 5 forces, we've talked about that before. You're going to apply that to the Southwest. And a new concept for you that's not in your book, so pay attention. Political factors at Pastel is political factors, environmental factors, social factors, technological factors, economic factors, and legal factors, how it affects an organization. So a Pastel framework is more for doing business international, as opposed to like opening up a branch office from New York to LA. Political things pretty much the same, environmental is the same, social is pretty much the same, so is the technological. Economic factors are about the same, and other than a few different state laws, legal factors are pretty much the same. So Pastel is not something that we use for the same country, but more you can, which is fine if it's in a certain type of industry, but you would use this as an international type of frameworks. Okay, so the P stands for political. So government policy, political stability, corruption, foreign trade, policy, tax policy, labor laws, and trade restrictions. And then the economic, E stands for economic. So the economic growth rate, exchange rates, like we talked about in Canada, the exchange rates are quite different. Inflation rates, disposable income, and unemployment rates. So all of these have to do with economical differences between countries, along with political. And then social. Obviously, social are a lot different. In India, they're starting to do a lot of entrepreneurs, innovative entrepreneurs are getting together and starting their own companies. And they're doing it in kind of like little work areas where they're sharing ideas and sharing resources. So that type of social thing is not happening in a lot of different other countries, definitely not here in the United States. So that's something you have to be aware of when you're going to a different country. And then technological. Some countries don't even have internet, like South America, where it works, or even someplace in the United States, where it doesn't work very well, half the time. So E stands for environmental. Obviously, you're not going to open up a snow cone shop on the North Pole or the South Pole, right? So certain things are going to come into effect there when the environmental policies, climate change, pressure from non-government organization, NGOs. So they're making a big thing about that right now with, the United States is one of the least polluters in the world. And, there's nothing we can do about other countries' environmental policies. So when you go to a different country and you're going to use fossil fuels or something like that, they may have different policies about how to use that. Okay, and then legal discrimination laws, antitrust laws, employment laws. This is all legal. We'll talk about a company that went over to France. They gave all of these great benefits to the French worker. They said, yes, you're guaranteed work, you're guaranteed a certain wage, you're guaranteed all these. All these things were very popular here in the United States and how they captured some of the good labor market. But the French didn't care because we go, that's the law here. We don't care. We're guaranteed that no matter what you tell us. So, those type of things you have to be aware of when you go to a different country. All right, so questions about a Pastel model? No? Okay. So the SWOT, you guys are familiar with that, the strength, the weaknesses, which are internal, and then the opportunities and threats, which are external. All right, any questions? Anyone? All right. So Southwest Airlines love you. You did such a great job consulting for Boeing. We actually didn't do that exercise, but I digress. That Southwest Airlines heard about it and wants you to consult on their new idea of branching off to Central and South America. Since 2018, many major air carriers have left the South American market and left a void that needs to be filled. So here's a picture of Venezuela. As you can see, it's halfway in between Central and the tip of South America. And we're going to do a little exercise here in a few moments about Southwest Airlines. So mini case is due 127 at 9 a.m. and the mini quiz paper on Monday, every Monday. All right, let's see here. Okay, so in the chat box, I just put a link to the paper that we're going to do. So what I want you to do, I'm going to break you up into groups, is you're all going to be little consultants again. And then we're going to find out why or why not it'd be a good idea for Southwest Airlines to open up a hub in South America, Venezuela. What do you think about that? Tanner, you good with that? All right. All right, so go ahead and break off into groups.
Professor, you say you put the link out already?
I put the link in the chat room.
Yeah, we don't see it. At least I don't, and a couple don't.
Oh, everyone in the waiting room. Why did it do that? Everyone in the meeting. Let's try that one. What about now?
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to put you in 12 groups. I'm going to come in and I'm going to ask you what's going on. This morning, the shared document ran a little bit slow. I don't know how it's going to work in the afternoon, but if it hesitates too much, just do a shared doc on your own in your own group and then just transfer all the information over. All right. Have fun. I'll check on you in a few moments. All right, everybody go into your group.
Professor, I didn't get a notification to join the breakout room.
You didn't.
No.
Why not? You are in room 2.
For some reason, yeah. I'm pressing join breakout room, but it's not letting me.
I don't know what to tell you. Let me see if I can move you manually. All right, Cyan, can you do it now?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Maha, Adarsh, what's going on? All right, you guys, can you go to your breakout rooms? Adarsh, what's going on? What's up, Ashley?
Hi, sorry, I just joined in from work.
That's fine. I'm going to put you in room 7.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Darsh, what's going on? You're not responding.